I'm not surprised the Conservatives have brought this forward. I guess I'm very surprised the NDP and Bloc have supported this.
We now have that mole.
Yes!
This Guy's Garage. Like and subscribe.
The clerk and I will make note of that, and I will turn over the floor to you accordingly. To address the 1064 that was submitted to committee on February 16th, I'll open up the discussion by turning the floor over to Mr. Strahl. Mr. Strahl, the floor is yours.
There are 6 members that have signed this letter calling for this meeting because of the comments of Stephen Guilbeault, the Minister of the Environment, last week, which have caused an uproar and uncertainty right across the country. His divisive comments, his extreme position has set off alarm bells in provincial capitals, in cities, in remote communities, and Indigenous communities right across the country, because it is a radical policy that he announced last week in Montreal, where he said, quote, "Our government has made the decision to stop investing in new road infrastructure." This is not an off-the-cuff remark from a radical activist minister, even though he certainly has that background. He said that the government, our government, the Trudeau government, has made the decision to stop investing in new road infrastructure. I will read the motion that I will be moving into the record. The motion is as follows: that the committee undertake a study of no less than 6 meetings on infrastructure in Canada and invite the following witnesses to appear before the committee. A, the Minister of Environment and Climate Change alone for 3 hours within 7 days of this motion being adopted. B, the Minister of Housing, Infrastructure and Communities alone for 3 hours within 7 days of this motion being adopted. C, the Minister of Transport alone for 3 hours within 14 days of this motion being adopted. D, the Minister of Finance alone for 3 hours within 14 days of this motion being adopted. E, the CEO of the Canada Infrastructure Bank, Aaron Corey, alone for 3 hours within 14 days of this motion being adopted. F, any witnesses deemed relevant by committee members. And that the committee seek additional resources as required in order to accommodate these meetings, including by adding additional time to the end of meetings scheduled on accessible transportation for persons with disabilities, and by scheduling meetings during non-sitting days, and that, with the exception of scheduled meetings on accessible transportation for persons with disabilities, this study should take priority order. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I guess I'm not surprised the Conservatives have brought this forward. I guess I'm very surprised the NDP and Bloc have supported this.
We now have that mole.
Yes!
Feigned outrage by the Conservative Party.
So you're the
Mole.
We saw immediately that the Minister of the Environment clarified his statements.
Bye, mole.
With respect to this is not a change in government policy. This has been a government that has provided historic investments.
Mole.
Oh, shut up!
In infrastructure, all the while Conservatives voting against. The main agricultural policy of the Conservative Party is rage farming, so
Moly, 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 moly.
this seems to be along those lines.
I'm sure that the voters of St. Catharines will have better days ahead instead of listening to that diatribe. But on the motion, on the actual substance of it, it seems that the Prime Minister's environment minister, radical environment minister, has announced an infrastructure plan. More soul-sucking traffic, more gridlock, and anyone who is driven through the GTA has come to expect that highways are gridlocked, they'll sit in traffic, missing productive time, missing time with their families. And it's the Liberals' radical environment minister who only wants to see this get worse. Not only that, we have a deputy prime minister who's just as out of touch. When she isn't being driven around by taxpayer funded chauffeurs, she lives in a world that is separate from the reality of most Canadians, and frankly, from the reality of almost anybody on this meeting, on this call. So bragging that, I don't own a car, that's a direct quote. I'm like, I don't know, 300 meters from the nearest subway, I walk and I take the subway. Here's the problem though. Not all Canadians live on a subway line, and Canadians already send their tax dollars to Ottawa for road infrastructure.
What I would therefore suggest when it comes to the motion of our colleague is that we modify it so that we have one meeting, a single meeting, and we'll have the Minister of Environment, the Minister of Housing, the Minister of Transport who will be there, and our clerk, I think, did a very good job of putting my amendment on paper. So it would read with the amendment, the committee undertake a study on infrastructure in Canada and invite the following witnesses to appear before the committee. And we can also add within the 30 days following the adoption of this motion. So A, as is already the case in the motion, the Minister of Environment and Climate Change, but not the rest. B, the Minister of Housing, Infrastructure and Communities. Again, we can strike the rest of the sentence. And then C, the Minister of Transport, striking the rest. So when it comes to D, E, and F, I recommend that we strike these as well as the following paragraph on the hours and the resources to be dedicated, because if we have only one meeting, then we don't really need to make a lot of changes to our agenda and House resources. So I hope that my amendment to the motion is clear.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to my colleague, Mr. Barcelou-Duval, for the amendment. I am willing to support the amendment, which would see a more timely meeting on this particular topic with the three ministers appearing, as Mr. Barcelou-Duval has outlined. And with that, Mr. Chair, I'll turn the floor back to you. Thank you.
That this is a serious matter where we are aiming to have a constructive outcome of this session. And so what I would ask also is that members such as the opening diatribe against our environment minister not be part of the discussion.
So let me suggest as a sub-amendment to Mr. Barcelou-Duval's amendment that we change 30 days to 14 days, and that we add for 1 hour each separately. So the amendment would then read, the committee undertake a meeting of infrastructure in Canada and invite the following witnesses to appear before the committee within 14 days of this motion being adopted for 1 hour each separately. A, the Minister of Environment and Climate Change. B, the Minister of Housing, Infrastructure and Communities. And C, the Minister of Transport. And that the committee seek additional resources, if necessary, to accommodate these appearances. So I'll propose that and turn over the floor.
I don't have anyone else on the list, so we can vote on Mr. Muse's sub-amendment to begin with.
On the sub-amendment, Monsieur Badawi?
No.
Monsieur Iacono? Monsieur Iacono?
It's Mr. Biddle. I think that's on for...
No, because...
Mr. Iacono, if you are online, you're going to have to log off for Mr. Biddle to be able to vote.
No.
Okay.
So he's voting. Okay.
Madame Koutrakis?
No.
Miss Murray?
No.
Mr. Rogers?
No.
Mr. Straw?
Yes.
Mr. Muse?
Yes.
Miss Landsman?
Yes.
Monsieur Gourde?
Oui.
Monsieur Barsalou-Duval,
Oui.
Mr.
And
Backrack,
Mr. Backrack, yes.
six yeas, 5 nays.
So the sub-amendment passes. We will now go to the vote on the amendment as amended by Mr. Muse.
Monsieur Badaway,
No.
Monsieur Iacono,
No.
Madame Koutrakis,
Oui.
okay. Miss Murray,
No.
Mr. Rogers,
No.
Is everybody clear on what we're voting on? I don't even know.
just for a reminder, you're voting on the amendment sub-amended by Mr. Muse.
I'm starting to see some confusion. So we're voting on the amendment put forward by Mr. Barsalou-Duval that was amended by Mr. Muse.
Yes.
Okay. Do you want,
Parce que
just hands up. Is anybody confused online? I'm seeing heads doing this. I'm seeing Mr. Barsalou-Duval kind of giving me the evil.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I may.
That was confusing, Chair.
We are voting. Do you want to? Can you reread the sub amendment the amendment as amended by Mr. Muse, so everybody knows what we're voting on, Madam Clerk?
So you're voting on the amendment sub-amended by Mr. Muse. So the amendment is the one proposed by Mr. Barsalou-Duval. So instead of having 30 days, you have 14 days.
Mr. Chair, I think there is a process when a vote is called that to stop it halfway through because some members are confused. You were very clear on what was happening. I realize there might have been some confusion of members, but when this happens in the House or at a committee, members are required to get unanimous consent to change their vote. So, I would hate to get into a precedent here. I think that it likely is out of order. I just want to make it clear that this is highly irregular to stop a vote halfway through to allow members to start again.
I agree, Mr. Schral. I just received messages from people saying, can you please read out what we are voting on, which I will take full responsibility for not doing. There was some confusion there, which is why I stopped it. So I've asked the clerk to read it out for everybody so that everybody's on the same page, including the person who proposed the amendment itself, who wanted to make sure we knew exactly what we were voting on. So I'm not
going to fight you on it, Mr. Chair. I just think it is highly irregular to stop a vote halfway through and start over.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
But
Straw.
go for it.
Thank you. Exactly what's going on. Okay. Oh, sorry, Madam Clerk. I'll let you proceed and make sure that everybody knows what's going on.
Okay.
Excuse-moi, Xavier.
So I asked Mr. Rogers, and now I'm going to Mr. Strahl.
Yes.
Mr. Muse,
Yes.
Miss Lantzmann,
Yes.
Monsieur Gourde,
Oui.
Monsieur Barsalou-Duval,
Oui.
Mr. Backrack,
Yes.
7 yeas, 4 nays.
Okay, so the amendment as amended by Mr. Muse passes. Now we will go to a vote on the motion as amended. And for that, I'll turn it over to you, Madam Clerk. I see no opposition. I'll turn it over to you, Madam Clerk.
Sure. Mr. Badaway,
Yes.
Monsieur Iacono,
Yes.
Madame Koutrakis,
Oui.
Miss Murray,
Yes.
Mr. Rogers,
Yes.
Mr. Strahl,
Yes.
Mr. Muse,
Yes.
Miss Lantzmann,
Yes.
Miss Lantzmann, I could not hear your vote.
Yeah. Yes.
Thanks. Monsieur Gourde,
Oui.
Monsieur Barsalou-Duval.
Il y a toujours un élément que j'ai pas compris là. Non.
So there's something that I haven't been able to understand.
Pouvez-vous répéter votre vote?
Can you repeat your vote, please? Yes.
Mr. Backrack.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
The motion as amended is carried. And with that, colleagues, this meeting stands adjourned.